Hey, family of light. Thank you so much for joining me for another video today. I am feeling inspired today. I've got already done one video, but I seem to be getting more and more video ideas today that have left me inspired enough to want to shoot another video, though I may not put them all out, you know, all in one day. It'll give me something to put out on days where perhaps I'm running behind. Anyhow, so how is it that we can speed up the process of becoming our most authentic self? By committing to yourself daily to show up just as you are, to committing to being vulnerable with those who deserve your vulnerability. And that is to say that there are those that you can trust with your heart and that you're guided to be vulnerable with. And there are those who you can't trust your heart with them or that vulnerability, your deepest emotions and things. You know that they're not going to respect those aspects of you and that you should not be vulnerable with them. Even if you have to deal with those people in your daily life where you're not currently willing to let some of those people go, that's okay. But don't be vulnerable with them. But choosing to show up every day in your rawest form, just as you are, that is the step you want to go towards. You want to show up and tackle the fears that have been most holding you back in society. So if you have a fear of speaking to people, that's where you want to start tackling that. If you have social anxiety, you want to start tackling that. If you are afraid to be seen, you want to put yourself in a position where you're being seen. That's what I'm doing. If you're afraid to be heard, same thing. And it is by taking these steps and showing up as yourself every day that allows you to be more comfortable in setting new goals, in becoming who you're meant to be, which is your authentic self. And so when we tackle the challenge of our insecurities and our fears on a daily basis, or even even if it's in the beginning, just once a week, because sometimes those fears can, I remember, and still today, those fears can feel so insurmountable, and we can really just succumb to them, can't we? We can allow ourselves to completely succumb to our fear at times, or at least that was my experience before. And when I feel guided to open my heart and be vulnerable with somebody, even when I'm rejected by that person, I'm no longer taking that personally. There was a reason. I understand this now. There is a reason why I was guided to specifically open up to that person or this person or the next person. I don't share that aspect of myself very often. I'm very selective as to who I open my heart to these days. And that's what experience has taught me, right? Foresight, gauging people, not taking people for face value, but getting to know people. And when I am hurt or feeling hurt by another, I know that that's just my stuff. I know that's my wound if I feel that way. And therefore, I have to take responsibility for the way that I allow that to affect me throughout my day. And it's the same with facing your fears in order to become your authentic self and showing up as who you are. During this process, you're going to show up as many different versions of yourself. And that's the fun part, is that you get to try on all of the different facets of your being to decide what works for you and what doesn't. And not like what works for, like when you don a mask, most people don a mask because it's what works in getting them what they want out of life in functioning in the society rather than getting them the best out of life. Do you see the difference there? One is manipulative because you're essentially lying about who you are. And so therefore you are being dishonest with yourself and you're being dishonest with everybody else around you. That's manipulation. It's not the truth. So when you are trying out different facets of you, I don't mean like you're becoming a totally different person and donning a mask. It's like for me, I'm trying out different hair. I'm trying out different jewelry. I am starting to do my nails, not do my nails. Maybe I want to wear makeup. Maybe I don't. I'm trying this way of dressing. I like this way of dressing. I'm eating this way. I'm trying different things to discover who I am at the core. Where do I like to go? Do I like to go out? What time do I like to go out until? But, discovering what you're passionate about, because it is ultimately that passion that'll drive you forward. Like, do I even still like doing art or crafting things? I think I do. I think I really do enjoy those things. I have, you know, always enjoyed dancing and singing and writing music and making up music on the spot, just being funny. I have always enjoyed humor. I have always enjoyed poetry. I enjoy reading. I enjoy love. I'm a hopeless romantic. There's a lot about me that I do enjoy and that I know about myself already. But there's so much more that I haven't gotten to fully explore about myself. And that's the thing, is that in order to know yourself authentically and show up as yourself, you need to try on these different facets of your being and see what you actually enjoy and don't enjoy. And part of that is showing up in situations, being as vulnerable as you can be in that given moment with that given person or situation. But from those moments, what I've learned is maybe there are parts of me that, because I rejected them in the past, because they weren't safe parts of me to come out, and because often in this last relationship, all of the parts of my shadow were actually weaponized against me and still are being. Because of that, I was so terrified to allow these aspects of my shadow to come forward, let alone be accepted. Because nobody else in my environment accepted them. So how could I accept them when they weren't even allowed to come out and I suppressed until what happens when you suppress yourself in any way, shape, or form? It builds and it builds, and that part of you becomes bigger, especially if the shadow aspect, and it becomes bigger and darker. And it grows, right? Until it comes out. Like it'll come out. There, you cannot suppress yourself. You cannot suppress parts of your personality or your persona or your identity. You can for a certain amount of time, but it's the people who live with you who will begin to see that. So if it's not even acceptable for all the facets of your being to come forward, for you to know, well, for you to first experience them and accept them and acknowledge that they are parts of you and love them, if that's not even safe for those parts of you to come forward, then you know that you've got to change your environment. You know that you've got to change your relationships. You know that there are changes that need to be made because those parts of you are going to come out regardless. And they come out in negative expressions quite often. And that's the sad reality about suppressing ourselves, suppressing aspects of ourselves. And when we suppress them for so long, we can divide our own selves. And so the best thing to do is to allow them to come forward. Find a safe space where you can allow those parts of you to come forward so you can see them in their entirety, love them and accept them because they're you. And they may have gotten bigger or darker or whatever and been expressed in negative ways because you weren't acknowledging them. So acknowledge the fact that they are there in order to fully integrate them within you. And by doing this, that aspect of you no longer has a need to make themselves known by expressing themselves in a negative way. And I talk about it like it's a different part of you because it almost is. Everything that you cast into your shadow and you reject becomes its own part of you, which only grows and grows and grows. And depending on what your life circumstances are and how you're living and how people treat you in your life, those parts of you can grow pretty big. And I know this from experience. I have experienced the depths of our duality on both sides. I work in shadow and light because that's how I can offer the best understanding of how to navigate it, how to navigate duality, how to navigate and accept our experience as humans. There's nothing wrong with understanding that we do have these dark parts of ourselves, so long as we are learning to take responsibility for them and making the changes necessary to guide ourselves in the right direction. I'm not advocating for people bringing their shadows forward and hurting people intentionally. But as you do your shadow work, you will become more triggered. You can expect that. And that is when you need to let people know in your environment that that is what's happening. And I can assure you that, if you have toxic people in your life, in your environment, they're just going to use that and weaponize it against you. So there's not even a point in telling them anything. But if you have somebody who is understanding and healthier in your life, or you have children, or even your friend circle or family, you want to let them know that you are processing emotions, you are processing your shadow, you are processing different aspects of yourself and your past, and that there may be turbulence coming forth. Okay? Let them know that. Anybody who's loving, caring, and understanding and who wants to support you and nurture you throughout your life, people who are healthy will be there for you and they will be understanding of that. They will not shun you for working on yourself. They will not talk smack behind your back for working on yourself. They won't make fun of you for it. Healthy people will be there for you and support you in any way that you need them to along your journey to getting better and becoming stronger and becoming aligned with your authentic self. And if you don't have those people, if you have toxic people in your life, it's time to clear out the house. Clear out all the junk that is inhibiting you from allowing yourself to step into your power. I mean it. Clear it out. You're never going to make advancements so long as you are being hindered by people and their opinions and their maltreatment of you. You won't. And like I said, if it's somebody that you're not willing to, or maybe you can't fully let go of, create rules around that. And also start to work on the things that are triggering your wounds around that person and start detaching from those wounds. So start healing the wounds that this toxic person is able to actually attach to and affect you. And the sooner you have those wounds closed off and the attachments removed from those wounds, the person can't even affect you. They can still be in your life and they will have no effect on you emotionally or mentally or in any way, shape, or form anymore. They won't have a hold on you. There's nothing to tie into or hook into, right? But if you want to show up as your authentic self, you're going to have to start allowing yourself to come forward. The darkness and the light. You're going to have to feel really awkward in situations at times. And some people, especially people who are new in your life, are going to misconstrue that as something else. And I can attest to this because in the very beginning of my journey of becoming my authentic self, I I was very awkward and fumbling over my words, and I just felt really insecure showing up as the person that I knew that I was inside. It just felt like fake almost, which made me feel really insecure. And I realize this now, like I felt fake because this part of me had never been allowed to be out. It felt so abnormal. And that's really twisted if you think about it. It should not feel abnormal for yourself to be coming forward, stepping forward, and presenting as yourself. You should feel safe and comfortable, but it's not comfortable in the beginning. It is not, you're not going to be left with a feeling of safety. But what you will be left with in the end, maybe after a while, maybe not that day, but what you will be left with over time is this feeling of being proud of yourself. Not pride, just being proud of yourself for having the guts to show up like that, even when people misread what it is that you are putting out there because you're fumbling and you're awkward and you are feeling insecure. People will think or make assumptions, especially new people in your life, that you are one way or the other when that's not it. You're just trying to learn and figure out how to navigate and move in this body that is like, it feels like a completely different person. I felt like I felt like this teenager, you know, when you're a teenager and you feel really awkward when you're talking to the opposite sex, let's say, you know, because you're not really sure what, you know, what to feel, how to act. Teenagers are all pretty insecure. And so that's kind of how it feels in the beginning. But over time, you learn to trust yourself. Over time, you can gauge what parts of you are ones that are really truly like your pure essence, and which parts were maybe pieces that were still a mask, part of your mask trembling, and you can let that go because you'll start to see it come forward. And then getting to know yourself. What do you really love? What is driving you? What are your passions? Like making these videos, I'm very passionate about. I love doing it. This is not a job. This is something that I love to do. And so find what you're passionate about and take steps to get yourself aligned with those passions. And these are some of the fastest ways to really step into your authenticity. Quit worrying about what everybody else thinks, because everybody else is going to think whatever the heck they're going to think anyways. Should it affect you? It's only going to affect you if you let it affect you. I'm not saying that's easy. That's where you have to come in and start working with your wounds and your inner child and your insecurities and your outdated beliefs and all of that jazz. But in time, you'll stop caring what other people think, because the only thing that matters, the only thing that matters is what you think about yourself. How do you feel about yourself at the end of the day? Can you go to bed and be happy and secure within yourself every day? I'm not saying I'm fully there yet, but I'm working towards that. I want to be at peace with myself. I want to be comfortable in this body. I don't need to obsess over my weight anymore, over what I eat or don't eat. I don't need to obsess about my image or what other people think about how I dress, how I act, how I speak, who I am. That is none of their business. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is whether or not I can live with myself, whether or not I can be okay with myself. If I'm feeling guilt or shame, or I am feeling angry or sad at myself, any of these things, then I'm not showing up as me. I'm not putting in the effort into filling my own cup and helping myself. I'm not putting effort into aligning myself. You're not going to feel better the first time you start to align yourself. You're not going to feel better for a while. Let's just clear that whole illusion out of the way. This takes persistence. This takes tenacity. This takes your commitment to loving yourself and not turning against yourself again. In all forms. But also understanding that you're going to fail and that you're going to feel these emotions. You're going to feel not very good about yourself at times. But are you going to love yourself through that? There's the difference. It's by loving yourself through it rather than beating yourself up over it, where you no longer turn against yourself. Or by catching yourself doing those behaviors and changing them in the moment. It's by taking steps towards the direction of your authentic self and loving and nurturing yourself and putting effort into healing yourself, where you're going to make progress, see progress, but it could take a while. So be patient, but take steps. I mean, the fastest way you can do that is just by accepting yourself, getting out of toxic situations and environments that don't serve you any longer, and allowing the parts of you that you have pushed into your shadow to come forward, and by taking risks. And I don't mean gambling. I don't mean risks that are going to put you in danger. I mean healthy risks that allow you to identify the parts of you that may be false still showing up in the world, and the parts of you that are truly you that you wish to keep bit by bit. That's the point. We all have come here to serve a purpose. Every single person has a purpose in life, a life purpose. But what most people don't understand is that we have more than one purpose. And as a collective species, our biggest purpose is to reawaken to ourselves at the core, to heal ourselves and to step into our authenticity. That's your biggest purpose. The rest, yeah, it keeps you alive and it keeps you driven, but it's actually not even close to as important as becoming your authentic self and reawakening to yourself and healing yourself and becoming centered and whole and balanced. That is your greatest purpose in life. That is all of our greatest purpose in life. And the sooner you recognize that and understand that, the better your life will start to become. So I'm going to end it there. I love you all very much. Feel free to subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day or night. Bye.